would be a good time to take a look up close at a few of those products and see exactly how they solve real-world problems. First product I want to take a look at with you is the FS3200 flat screen loudspeaker. Now this is a wall mount speaker that's meant to go around a plasma television. There's actually two models. There's the 3200 LR and a 3200 Center that looks very similar to this. We've done some very interesting things that we think makes this product better and more useful in the real world than some of the usual attempts at a product like this. I think the first thing you notice is that the tweeter is not located in the center, but it's offset to one side. And that's not accidental or sloppy planning on our part. It's quite intentional. We did this so that you could align the tweeter with the center channel's tweeter more closely. If the center channel speaker happens to be above the television, you take the 3200 and you mount it so the tweeter is up. If the center channel speaker is below the television, you flip the 3200 around so the tweeter is down here, and it's in more constant, more accurate acoustic alignment with the tweeter of the center channel. That way, as sounds pan across the front stage, it doesn't sound like three distinct sound sources. It's a nice, smooth acoustic pan all the way across. And by having the tweeter offset this way, that allows you to align it more precisely with the tweeter of the center channel speaker. Another thing that we did, since the tweeter is offset, that means that you could mount the speaker this way, or you could flip it the other way around. And that's why the keyhole mounts are two-way keyhole mounts. They'll grab the screw in the wall no matter which way the speaker is oriented. It's a small design detail, but believe me, if we hadn't done that, people would be cursing us and saying, well, how can you turn the speaker around if you can only mount it one way? And so we thought it through. And speaking of mounting, there's additional wall mounting hardware that's all included with the speaker. There's nothing optional, nothing extra to buy. Everything is included with the speaker. There's what we call a straight ahead mount and an angle mount that will tilt the speaker in by about 10 degrees. So if the speaker is like this, you could tilt it in 10 degrees. If the center channel speaker is like this, you could tilt it down 10 degrees or below the screen up 10 degrees. And all that is included, which is a nice touch. We spoke a bit before on center channel speakers about the need for boundary compensation and high frequency controls. And we've extended that to both the left, right, and the center channel on the 3200s because these are wall mountable as well as freestanding. So if they're mounted against the wall, both the left, right, and the center channel need to have that boundary compensation. So we have the boundary compensation control for both the left, right, and the center speaker. And of course, we have the high frequency level control to adjust for room acoustics. There is one option for the FS3200, and the option for the FS3200 is this FS3200 pedestal. This is something that you can get in addition to the 3200 left-right that transforms it from a beautiful wall-mounted speaker to a sleek, freestanding, floor-standing speaker. And it's an extremely nice product now. It's completely different. And in this case, when you mount it on the pedestal stand well away from the room boundaries, then you would use the boundary compensation control to put it in the position for being away from room boundaries as opposed to being on the wall when it would be with room boundary compensation. So that's why we include controls like this, because the speaker is able to be used in completely different acoustic settings. That's the FS3200. It's available in the silver metallic finish that you see, as well as a satin black. So whether your television is the black finish or a gloss black finish, the gloss black will blend right in with the gloss, and the silver will blend right in with silver. And so it's available in the two finishes. Amazingly enough, and there's no pleasing some people, amazingly enough, some people actually say, look, not only do I not want to see floor standing speakers, and not only do I not want to see a 3-in-1 speaker, and not only do I not want to see in-wall speakers, they don't want to see any speakers. Whether it's in-wall, whether it's closed box, whether it's a nice 3200 floor stander, they don't want to see anything. So that leaves really just one option, and that option is to ceiling mount a speaker. ceiling speakers are great. When you go to your local mass merchant and they say that there's a special in aisle 7, that announcement is coming out of a ceiling speaker. And so, okay, it's fine. It sounds good. It's nice, you know, for non-critical listening. But if you're going to put in a high-fidelity system and a theater system, and you need a left speaker and a center speaker and a right speaker, and everything needs to sound as good as it can, ceiling speakers up until now haven't been the best choice because they just don't have the correct sound and the correct directionality and the correct design to really deliver first-rate theater sound until now. What we've done, because we're Atlantic and it's our job, and this is what we do, we look at things differently. What we've done is we've come up with a product we call the In-Ceiling Theater System 6 LCR. LCR stands for left, center, right, because we think that this is the first product, the first ceiling speaker that's really good enough for serious, no excuses, no compromise theater sound use. It's a ceiling speaker. You can see that the woofer is angled so that the woofer will fire down towards the listening area instead of straight down. But remember, I was just talking about the in-wall closed box and how most in-wall speakers use woofers that handle too much of the sound spectrum. The woofers go up too high in frequency, and the tweeters don't go low enough in frequency. So the woofers beam their sound like a flashlight. Well, it's bad enough if the woofer beams its sound like a flashlight when it comes out from the wall straight ahead. Can you imagine how bad it is if a speaker is mounted in the ceiling and the woofer is beaming all that mid-range sound like a flashlight? It's going to go straight down. It's never going to reach the listening area. So we've angled it so that it reaches the listening area. But we've done more than that. We've incorporated the same technology, low resonance tweeter, in the 6 LCR that I just showed you in the in-wall closed box. And that enables the tweeter to spread the sound out in the mid-range, lower treble, and upper treble all over the listening area so that when you mount this in the ceiling, the woofer is angled towards the listening area. It's only handling the part of the spectrum that the woofer is able to disperse widely. And it crosses over at a low crossover point to the tweeter because it's our special low resonance tweeter that handles more of the sound spectrum. And the tweeter is then able to really spread the sound out beautifully all around the listening area. So unlike a conventional ceiling speaker that is just not well suited to theater use, the 6 LCR is suited to critical theater use. And it's a very, very important speaker for those customers who just don't want to see speakers in front of them. So far we've looked at things that really solve problems. We've looked at the 6 LCR, we've looked at the FS4000, we've looked at the in-wall closed box. We've looked at products that really address the way people use sound products in their home and the way that people really want their products to operate on their behalf. They don't want to fight with them, they don't want to put up with them, they don't want to accept things that look bad, they don't want products that don't really address their needs of today. There's probably no product that is more of a necessary evil in people's minds than the subwoofer. Now, subwoofers are essential. If you don't have a good subwoofer in a home theater or music system, then you haven't got great bass and you haven't got really powerful low end, and when you're watching an exciting action movie and there are explosions, or someone drives a truck into a bridge and it explodes, and it has this great rumble, or the Death Star explodes, it has this great low frequency power to it. You need a subwoofer. Subwoofers are great. Subwoofers are what bring drama and impact and really seem to set so-so systems apart from really great home theater systems. And because subwoofers sound so good, and because subwoofers are such an integral part of what's important to the sound of a home theater system, of a home entertainment system, people put up with what they hate the most. They put up with that horrible black box. If only I could get rid of that black box in my living room, I'd be so happy. Now, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Atlanta came up with a great solution for it. We have an in-wall subwoofer, and if you're building a brand new theater and your walls are open, you can put our brand new in-wall subwoofer in right from the word go. It's THX certified, it has external amplifiers, it's great. It's a great in-wall subwoofer, you'll never see it. It doesn't clutter up your room, it's terrific. But in all honesty, it's kind of expensive. And in even greater honesty, it's made for those rooms that are being built as theaters for the first time. If you're building a house for the first time, put in our in-wall sub. If you're finishing off a basement and framing in the walls around a previously unfinished basement and the walls are open, put in our in-wall sub. That way you'll never see the subwoofer, you'll get THX certified level bass, it'll be fabulous. However, that doesn't address the great majority of home theater installations. The great majority of you customers out there are putting home theater systems in your living room, and you just want a good sounding product that doesn't look lousy in your living room. The walls are already made. You can't start cutting out sheetrock and installing expensive subwoofers. You don't even know what's behind one given wall section. Is there wiring there? Is there plumbing there? Is there some kind of a tripwire over there? You just don't know. So putting in an in-wall subwoofer after the fact is not even an option. So most people have accepted the necessary evil. The necessary evil of the black box. All right, I'll close my eyes, I'll pretend it's not there. The black box. Okay, that wasn't good enough for Atlantic. Because at Atlantic, we like to solve problems. We like to look at real-world problems. We like to understand how customers really want to use products. We like to solve that problem and have it sound great and fit into their lifestyle. So here's what we did. And this is one of the most ingenious products. It's so simple and so spot on and so good that we asked ourselves, why didn't we think of this years ago? Thankfully, it seems like no one else has thought of it either. So this is a real nice product. And if you look over there in the corner, you probably didn't even notice it. But we have something called the 10 CSB corner subwoofer. And the corner subwoofer mounts in the corner. If you can see the shape of the cabinet, it's designed to snug right into a corner, out of sight, definitely not out of ear. Corner mounting is a great location for a subwoofer from an acoustic standpoint. As I've mentioned before about boundaries, each boundary reinforces the bass. And when you corner mount a subwoofer, you've got the acoustic reinforcement, almost like acoustic mirrors, if you will, of 3 intersecting wall boundaries, the floor and 2 walls. You could think of the subwoofer as if it were a light bulb. And if the light bulb was out in the middle of the room, you'd get the light from one light bulb. If the light bulb was at the floor-wall intersection, you'd get the reflection from 2 surfaces, the floor and the wall. But you put that same light bulb, that acoustic light bulb, that bass light bulb, if you will, into the corner, and now you've got a triple reflection. So it really reinforces the bass. It's a great location acoustically for bass. And because we know that it's going in the corner, we adjust the electronics in its amplifier to compensate and optimize it specifically for corner mounting. Think of it. A traditional box subwoofer has an amplifier built into it. And you could locate it here, you could locate it there, you could locate it there, you could locate it anywhere. And as a manufacturer, we don't know exactly where you're going to put this thing. So there's no way that we can precisely optimize the electronics that are built into the subwoofer amplifier based on where you're going to put it, because we don't know where you're going to put it. So it's a little bit of a compromise. We'll give you the best placement instructions we can. We hope that you follow our placement guidelines, but if you don't, with a box subwoofer, you're a little bit at odds between where you're going to place it and its best possible sound. With a corner subwoofer, we know where you're going to put it. It's a corner subwoofer. It's shaped and designed to go in the corner. We know that that's where you're putting it. So we optimize it for that location, and it sounds great in that location. It's a 180 watt amplifier. It's a down-firing 10-inch super heavy-duty bass driver. It just puts out clear, strong, undistorted bass like no tomorrow. And the nice thing about this enclosure is that there's no visible grill. The driver is down-firing. The enclosure itself is painted in a matte satin black finish. It's painted. You can put primer on it, and then you can paint it any color you desire. You can paint it to blend right in. You can paint it to match the wallpaper. You can even paint a thin strip along the bottom to emulate the wall molding and then paint it a different color on top. You can even, breaks my heart to tell you this, but you could even take the logo off and paint it, and the thing would absolutely disappear in your room. Nice thing about it is it's a totally stealth subwoofer that's acoustically optimized for where it's going to be, and you don't have to cut the walls. And you don't have to worry about a non-optimal location looking at a big, ugly black box. It's just such a great solution. So if you took a set of in-ceiling 6 LCRs and a corner sub, or an FS4000 beneath your plasma and a corner sub, it's just such a nice system because it blends right into the room. It sounds terrific. You've got boundary compensation controls. You've got electronics that are optimized for corner placement in a subwoofer, and you virtually don't see it at all. It's absolutely great. So acoustically, it's terrific, and it fits right in for how people want to use products in their home. Okay, 2 more items, and then I'll leave you alone for a while because this has been a lot to absorb. But 2 more items I want to talk to you about. So far, I've spoken an awful lot about products that you use in your home theater. And we make a lot of great products for home theater, for whole house audio. You can use our ceiling speakers in every room in the house. You can use our small satellite subwoofer systems for secondary systems or for vacation homes. But there's one thing all of them have in common. They're all indoor loudspeakers. Well, you know, Atlantic makes great sounding products. And I think that you're going to want to take that great Atlantic sound outside. If you have a deck, if you do barbecues in the summer, if you have people over on summer evenings for cocktail parties or to watch the Red Sox lose another heartbreaking game, you're going to want sound outside. And because of that, we came up with the outdoor loudspeaker AW424. Now the 424 is not a normal outdoor loudspeaker. It is an unconventional, we think better by far than average outdoor loudspeaker. First thing about the 424 that you notice is that it's made out of a polypropylene plastic. Polypropylene is a very dense, acoustically inert plastic. Most plastic outdoor speakers, when you wrap, they tend to sound and feel like inexpensive airplane models that you used to buy at the drugstore because they're made out of what they call styrene plastic or ABS plastic. It's that really inexpensive material. It costs a lot more to make a product out of polypropylene because it's a mineral-filled, very dense plastic, very rugged. I mean, it withstands UV, ultraviolet, and it withstands all kinds of temperature extremes. It's a very non-brittle, strong material, but it's also a better material acoustically. So we use it because it's better. It's more expensive, so I don't get a raise this year because my money is going into the enclosure of the 424, but seriously, I mean, it's really good material. It's a double woofer system, which means twice the power handling of a normal outdoor speaker, which has a single woofer system. Someone once said to me, you know something? Outdoors is a big room. And they were right. Outdoors is a big room. So speakers need to be able to handle some power because you tend to drive them a little harder when they're outside than when they're inside because there's no walls and ceiling and floors to reflect the sound back to the listening area. You know, only your neighbors really hear the sound once you start cranking these things, because the sound just goes out outdoors. Outdoors is a big room, so the speakers need to be rugged. It's a one-handed mounting system. The way the mounting brackets are done is that there's actually a channel that's cut into this, and you can just slide the speaker onto the mounting bracket after you mount the bracket onto the side of the house. So you're not standing up 20 feet above the ground on a ladder worrying about trying to find the threaded insert on the post in some blind mounting situation. It's a very, very easy mounting situation. And the one thing that we seem to get the most positive reinforcement on is something that's so minor. The logo rotates so that if the speaker is vertical, the A of Atlantic reads correctly. But if you mount the speaker sideways, this drives people crazy. So the logo rotates correctly so that no matter what orientation you have the speaker, the logo always looks right. So very high power handling, very good material. One other not so minor detail, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I would think that if you're doing an outdoor speaker as a manufacturer, one of the things you'd want that outdoor speaker to be is weatherproof and waterproof. That seems to be kind of the first requirement of an outdoor speaker. And our outdoor speaker is sealed. It's an acoustic suspension design. It's totally sealed. It's airtight. Don't ask me why, because I haven't got the answer. But there are actually some outdoor speakers out there that are ported. They have actual ports or channels drilled into the front baffle that allows hummingbirds and hornets and water and all manner of obstructions to get inside the speaker and mess things up. I don't know why they're like that, but I would think that a good outdoor speaker should be weatherproof and waterproof and sealed. And not only does it sound good when it's an acoustic suspension speaker, but it just makes more sense for an outdoor speaker to be that way. So ours is like that. We're almost done. Everybody can take a breath. I've got one more thing I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about another product that solves problems. It's just a great product for a multiple use situation. This is called the Atlantic In-Ceiling Theater System, ICTS 8.3. It has a smaller brother called the 6.3, but all the comments I say will apply equally to the 8.3 as well as the 6.3. You see, it's dual tweeters. The dual tweeters can operate either in phase, that means both tweeters are moving together, and in that case, it's a very high quality music speaker, nicely suited to whole house audio. Put a set of these in the ceiling in every room, and it just sounds great. It's also a particularly good solution if you flip this switch from normal to surround. And in the surround mode, these two tweeters go out of phase with each other. In other words, one goes in when the other is moving out. And that creates what we call a null field, so that right nearby the speaker, you can't tell where the sound is coming from. Sound gets out away from the speaker, begins to reflect all around the room, and very effectively fills the listening area with non-directional ambient sound, which is exactly what you want for the rear channels in a home theater system. So for those situations where you don't want to see side wall-mounted surround speakers, use the 6.3 or the 8.3 as surround speakers mounted in the ceiling with the tweeter in the surround position. And it makes a wonderful, wonderful situation for surround speakers that you can't see at all. The other thing you can do with this, which is a very interesting problem-solving solution, is since it's a dual voice coil woofer, you can actually have one tweeter handle one channel of information, and one of the voice coils in the woofer handles that channel of information, and the other tweeter handles the other channel of information, with the other voice coil of the woofer handling the right channel. So if you've got a small area where space or budget is just not appropriate for two speakers, such as an example, a master dressing area or master closet, and only room for one speaker, only budget for one speaker. You can put one 6.3 or 8.3 in the ceiling, and that single unit can handle both channels of a stereo signal. One tweeter in the woofer handles one channel, the other tweeter in the woofer handles the other channel. So it beautifully solves the problem of how do we get high quality sound in a space-challenged situation where two-speaker installation is not appropriate. So high-quality regular speaker, beautiful surround sound speaker for the ceiling, or high-quality single-point stereo speaker. It's what we call tri-mode, because you can use in any one of 3 modes. So those are some highlights of some of the problem-solving products that we have developed for customers at Atlantic Technology.